Okay, let's see if this actually fixes everything. I don't know what's going on, but at least now, let me just go off screen and see if I can fix my other monitor so I can see what the hell's going on off screen. At least now I think this will work. Ugh. I don't know, all my computers seem to be broken today. I'm having a really weird time with I have this Terraform DAS that is connected to one of my Macs, and it has decided that it no longer wants to mount. And I went to customer support and asked them for help, and they responded to me in Chinese, so I didn't get very far. All right, I think I have enough stuff set up that we can actually start working. And we'll just take it from there and see how far this goes. I also still can't figure out why I'm quasi-transparent, even though I have fixed that, but whatever. So, all right, where are we? Or where were we, really? So yesterday, I finally got some logic in place that would let me, it would let me now test out where the enemy collision is going. So if I get past this start, you'll see as this little enemy guy is walking to the right, he moves this white tile. And what I need to figure out now is that it's moving, when it goes to the left, it moves 2 tiles ahead of him. So I just need to figure out what I'm doing wrong there. Also, at that position right there, he should turn around, and he's not. So something weird is going on there. I'm going to restart the game, and I'm going to start the debugger, and then we're just going to go through this systematically and try to figure out what the problem is. And this is sort of a critical piece in the game, because what I'm trying to get to is a place where I can just put an enemy down and I don't have to like hand assign locations to them. So what I'm looking for are these values of this tile ID, and I want to see that when it gets to here, it should say 23, but it didn't flip him around. So now the real question is, what is causing him not to move? And this is just an utter mess. I can't stand these visual coding editors. Like this just to me is so hard to read, but let's start back from the top so I can remember what I was doing here. And we have 2 variables or 2 parameters that are coming in. I called them p_enemy_x and p_enemy_alive. And then we have our actors, which is our enemy, and our box. This is our box. I'm just going to put the box below him, and this is our enemy. So there's a main game loop that's basically going around and calling this move all the time. And it's just passing that into the script, and this script will handle it. What I didn't want is all the enemies to have their own logic on their own loops, because it just becomes too taxing, I think, for the Game Boy. So here we're doing is that if the enemy is facing left, we set the value to -1. If the enemy is facing right, we set the enemy direction. So let's go back into the debugger here, and we're going to look for all of these variables and just make sure that I'm getting them. What I'm missing here right now is I want to search for direction, enemy direction, and let's watch that. And we can get rid of this now. So I'm going to start this again, and I just want to make sure that at least we're getting the right direction value. So he's moving forward, and the direction is set to 1. Now, when he's set to reverse, it should be -1. So that's working. The debugger really slows things down. Hey, look, he flipped. Interesting. I don't know why he flipped, but he wasn't doing it before. But let's take a look now to see. So now he should flip. And let's see if he flips again. All right, so he's sort of walking on this. Trying to see that when he goes here. All right, so let's do this. He's now walking backwards and forwards, so at least that part is working. So I'm going to close out this part where we test what the and which way the enemy is facing, and then we need to look at this next X. So let's go back. I want to follow next X, which is going to be the next column. I have to fix the naming for this stuff because it really is next tile. So what I want to see here is next X is 6, that goes to 7. I don't know why it goes down to 4, 3, and then it should go to 2, and then he should flip. Which now he's not flipping. Huh. I wonder why why did he flip the last time? I think the only other thing that I did when I was testing it was that I jumped near him, and maybe that triggered something. So we'll have to go back and double check this. Oops, I probably shouldn't kill him if I want to see this work. My bad. You gotta find some better music to play. All right. So let's see now if he turns around and flips. Huh. So why does he flip now? If I start the game and I don't move? Why? What is forcing it to trigger that way? Let's just see if he turns around now. Am I like, you know what? $5 says that I'm like looking at the, it's got to be my guy, because my guy is triggering him to turn around and flip like this. So why is that happening? The other issue is I don't even remember honestly where I set the logic for the player. It's been a long time since I've used this. All right, so let me just double check to make sure that we're sending in the right variables. We're sending the enemy to box. There may be a place somewhere around here that I am doing something replace. Let me make sure I haven't broken my replace tile logic. What happens is that when you kill the enemy, it's going to, when you kill the enemy, it will restart. It'll open up this locked door. Yep, that's not working either. What? Huh. Enable event. All right, let's delete all the stuff that we don't need. And let me watch. All right, so there's a lot of things that are going wrong right now, and I just got to go back through this code and just figure out what's going on. I'm going to go and take a look at the enemies and see if the enemy counter is working. So the enemy counter is set to 1. Oops. And then the enemies is set to 7. I wonder if the enemies are initializing themselves on init. That's funny. I got this from the turnip, whatever this thing is. Enemy init. So, all right, the problem I have is that these guys are all, since they're off screen, they are still, why can't I move them any further over? They are still they're still created. So what I want to do is enemy init. This should set up the enemy alive. So it increments enemy 1. So what we were going to do here is let's insert an event before, and I want to see if there's something on the actor that shows if the actor is off screen. Set actor, animation, start, hide actor, show actor, show all sprites. This is where it starts becoming a little bit of a pain in the butt. I don't think these guys are moving, but you know what? I think for right now, I'm just going to delete all these guys, and I'll come back to this later because this is screwing up other things. And right now, the main focus really has to be on this one actor, and I need to start figuring out whether. Let me zoom out of this thing. Whoops, wrong key. I need to see if I'm just overcomplicating this in my attempt to not complicate it. So let's delete these guys. Delete, 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 delete. So I don't think there's a for loop. Loop for I wonder, I don't think there's a way to, like, what I was trying to figure out is if I could do like a for loop to go around and figure out if I can go figure out how to iterate through a number of enemies. I don't know if there's a way to select an actor. I don't even know if there's store engine field, store flag. Yeah, I think like the only way to do this is going to be, I would have to iterate. I would have to somehow iterate through all the actors, set actor position. No, I would have to create a condition to test which actor is which. So I think there's no other way I can get around it but to manually do this. I guess the real way to iterate through them is to put this on. All right, so let me do this. Let's delete this. We don't need this. I'm going to try to simplify this first, and I'm going to put the logic back on the enemy and then see if we can create an efficient loop for them to test where they need to go. So I'm going to disable this for right now. Let's see if this works. So right now what will happen is that there should be, nothing is going on. All right, and then, right, okay, so I killed the guy, I go and I can exit the game. Great. Now what I want to do is I want to see if I can select him, and on update, I want to call a script. Call script. We're going to call enemy move forward. We're going to pass it in I'm going to redo this, I think, because on hit, enemy collision. Let me disable this too. Let me disable this. All right, so at least let's do it this way, because I can't remember how you set local variables. Yeah, they have local variables here. So enemy speed equals 2. So what happens if I make this a local variable? I got to come up with I have to come up with a good naming convention, because I continue to just change the variable names. But let's do it this way. We're going to do L speed, which will be the local speed. We're going to change, we don't need this boundaries at all, so we're going to delete this. We're going to delete this. And we want to call this a init script. What we just need to do here is we just need to create a number, and we need to set this to 2. Because I don't think this even matters. And the enemy alive, we definitely want that. This is going to have to be a local. So let me make this, actually I'm going to change this. I'm going to get rid of this speed. Delete. And what we're going to do is on init, we're going to call this init script, which honestly, it should probably just be, well, all the enemies are going to have very similar sort of initialization. So we'll keep that as is. So going back now into here, what I wanted to do is I was going to change this local variable to local underscore alive. And now what we'll do is I think we need to set the alive to true. Passing in the speed is fine, but we need to give it a reference. So let's go here, insert event before, set variable to true. So we're going to set L alive to true when it starts. We're going to, the enemy will be self, and we are going to keep track of the alive locally on the enemy. And then we're going to set the speed to 2. So this way I can just put them down and I can change their speed. And then on update, let's enable this event, and I want to edit the script, because what I want to do is that when this thing comes in, we're not going to need, we just need to know the enemy speed, and we need to know, so let's take a look at how this works. We have the enemy direction, which is, this is a, the enemy direction is a global variable we're going to need. I'm going to actually try to change, can I change the name of the variable? I'm just going to start trying to do the same. All right, so we'll have enemy direction. And for enemy move forward, what we're going to do is we're looking for enemy direction. We have the actor, enemy. We want to make sure that the enemy is alive before we do anything. So let's do P enemy alive. And I think this is the naming convention I'm going to start going for, because I think what really should happen is that I need to keep track of whether these are global, local, or parameters, because it's not very clear. So we're going to call this G enemy direction, which is just giving me a global. Go back into our enemy move. We have our enemy here. Then we're going to test our enemy direction. So if we're going left, we're going to set the global enemy direction to -1. If we're going to the right, we're going to set it to 1. Then we need to set the X position. Actually, I'm just going to, yeah, no, this is fine. So next X is going to be the enemy tile X. So we don't need this anymore. What we want to do is we want to now call next X. I'm going to rename this now, and we're going to call this, well, G next X for right now. I don't even think we need this variable. Oh wait, it's used in enemy init, and it's used in enemy move forward. But we don't technically even need this, because it really should just be I see why we need it. Okay, fine. Was it 48 or something? 58? All right, so this is going to be global next Y. All right, so what I'm going to do is let's go through this. We don't need the enemy X. We don't need the enemy Y anymore. We don't need to set this. We don't need to set this. All we need to do is when an enemy starts, let's delete this. Let's delete this. And we're going to rename this to increase enemy counter +1. Or we'll just do increase enemy counter. Here we're going to rename this. And we're going to do set alive to true. All right, so now this will do the local variable. Now I thought I'd made a local variable. What am I in the init? So variable A oh wait, this is weird. I don't know why this is. Oh, I see what was going on. This is stupid, the way I'm doing this. What I was doing here was I was setting this on init will just be the local variable for alive here. I'm trying to think through if let's see if we can simplify this, because I think the problem that I'm facing right now, what I got to think through is what variables are attached to the actual actor and what the scope is. And that's what I'm struggling a little bit with, is I can't really visualize what's going on. So, because what I think is happening here is this is P alive, and this is P speed. It's weird. I don't know why I can't scroll up here. All right, so when this guy initializes, basically what we do is we take the local alive and we set it to true, and then we initialize we don't even need to do this. We can delete this. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to pass the local variable from the actor, whether for what we do to store alive, into the script. Then what we're going to do is we're going to change the. I think I do want to make this a variable, because then what we're going to do is on this local 2. We're going to call this L speed. So, all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pass in 2 variables to the initialization. We're going to set the alive, and we're going to pass in the speed. And what I want to do is we're going to insert event before. Set actor direction, set actor position, set variable to value. So we're going to set speed to 2, and then I don't think we even need to pass it into this init. Like, honestly, what it should be is that each one of these should create its own. It should set its own variables to begin with. The init stuff. Let me see if there's something in here that I'm missing, or some easier way that I need to do this. This is like a byproduct. I just can't. I struggle with these. I struggle with these visual coding things. Like, I just don't think this way. Set up initial state for enemy actor. So I guess the real question is that set alive to true. If enemy is facing left, speed. We set the speed, we multiply the speed by -1. So, all right, so what we're doing here is we're looking for the actor's direction. If enemy is facing left, we are going to rename this event. We are going to make speed -1. Well, we'll just make it, yeah, let me just make this clear. Rename event -1. So the idea behind that is because we're adding the speed every time that the actor moves. If it's positive, it'll go to the right. If it's negative, it'll go to the left. We don't need this. The tile position, we don't need this. Store enemy position in variable. I think we can get rid of all this stuff too. So let me disable this. Let me disable this. So in essence, what happens is whenever we initialize a new this is one other thing I wanted to do. I think if we go here and we create a new thing, we're going to set the speed value to 2, fine. And then we pass in alive in this. I was just debating whether I set alive to true here or I let this thing deal with it. But I think this is the way for right now. All right, so we initialize the enemy. Then our enemy moved forward. So now coming back into here, we get the enemy alive, we get the enemy X. So we tested the enemy is alive, and we don't do anything unless the enemy is alive. If the enemy is facing left, we get the we set this direction to -1 or +1. We'll come back to that in a second. I might simplify that a little bit. Because this really should happen in the changeover, but let's see. Set the X position. So here we're going to save the current tile X position to the global. This equals variable value tile X. Right, the enemy's tile X. So I'm going to rename this now to G next. We're just going to call this G tile X and G tile Y. It's a little bit, this is a little tedious because I just really need to clean up the system, but I'm hoping that once I get the system cleaned up a lot better, it'll be easier for me to like figure out what the hell's going on. So what we're going to do is we have this G tile X equals tile X, and we have G tile X. So we're going to take the, we're going to, I'm just going to rename these. The comments are really, get enemy, get current tile X position. We're going to rename this calculate next X. Next X tile. So these two things do that. So we get, once we get the current tile X position, we set it to the global variable, then we move tile X over one tile. So here what's happening is that, what should be happening is that the G tile X winds up, we take that value, then we add the enemy direction to it. And I think one thing that I got to figure out, you know, I think it's funny, like the more that I think about this, I think what I really need to do is I don't need to do this I think what I can do is I can move this square to where I want to test. No. See, this is the problem I'm having right now in my head. What I'm trying to figure out is there's something I'm missing. There's an offset or something that I'm missing here, because the tile, I don't know when it actually changes tile position. Let me do this. Let's disable. I think Y was fine. Let me run this real quick. I don't think it's going to work very well, but I want to see. What I want to see is, I don't know when the next tile actually counts. Yeah, I knew this wasn't going to work. Can I just disable all of this stuff, and we'll come back to this. Disable. Let's try playing it now. So what I think is happening is that var next x reference in module script 12. What's script 12? An enemy move forward. We're looking for. Oh, just forget this. Let's just disable this whole thing. I just want to get this to actually compile. What I think is happening is that the X calculation for, or at least the X calculation that defines the tile that the actor is in happens to be the top left corner of the actor. And why that's important is because if you're moving forward, that's easy. You simply add 1 to that position to get to the next tile. But if you're moving in the opposite direction, you actually have to subtract 8, then add 8, right? Because you want to get to you want to make the top corner the top right corner. So you're going to move, you're going to subtract 8, then you're going to add 8, 16. I think you add, yeah, so I don't know why this doesn't work. There's something weird about the calculation that I'm not getting just yet. So, all right, so right now, that box is set. Oh, cool, he doesn't even collide anymore? Did I, like, break everything? Why did I do this? Alive, enemy counter. Let's do this. G, total, enemies. All right, so this is the counter I use for how many enemies there are, because this is important, because what it does is it winds up, this way we have no way of iterating through how many enemies there are. So when an enemy gets created, we simply increment that counter. So let's go back to the enemy init, and actually what I wanted to see here was enemy collision, enemy collision. We check whether it's alive, or we pass in the alive, and then we pass in the global enemies. But I don't think we even need to do that in the enemy collision. Enemy, there's an enemy counter. Why don't we just use the global total enemies? Which should remove that. And now if we go back here, oh my God, what is this like? It sounds like the music at the dentist. I gotta find better music. What else? Oh my God, is there anything else in Spotify that's royalty free background music? Lo-fi. I feel like I'm already playing some of this stuff. Chill royalty free music. Lo-fi fruits music. Yeah, but it doesn't say whether it's... All right, I'll do this another day and find some better music. For now, I'll just keep skipping through the stuff that's annoying. And it's got like a little reggae to it. All right, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to minimize the amount of passing variables back and forth. I want to get this down to like the core, whatever the... Okay, that's card sounds annoying. I want to get this down to the to the point of where whatever is the minimum surface area that these scripts need to touch. I don't want to be passing things back and forth. I think the compiler must point a reference to it, but I want to keep these simple. So, okay, so when we collide, the only thing we're passing in is the local player's value. And what I want to see is that when this enemy collision happens, this is P enemy alive. So what winds up happening is that we set the enemy, so if the player is above the enemy, we want to check that the player is above the enemy when they collide. If it is, we're going to set the enemies alive to false. Then we're going de-increment, I would call it de-increment, but I guess decrement is the word. We're going to then subtract 1 from the total global enemies, and then we're going to disable all the collision for this enemy. We don't need this anymore. So then the enemy set animation state to death. So then here what we need to do next is that we take the enemy, we set the animation to death, and we want to bounce the player low. And this way when the player hits the enemy, they bounce back a little bit to give them a little bit more inertia for the next jump. And then we deactivate this enemy altogether. Let's delete this. I wonder if this is... I wonder if deactivating the enemy also disables the collision, but it's fine. There's no way to restore the collision, so I don't really... I want to make sure that you can't just keep... Well, maybe you can bounce on the... Let's disable this for a second. And let's see. So what I want to see is that if you kill it, I don't want you to go through the death, through the body. I want you to still be able to stand on the body while it goes, like while it dies. Whoops. Whoops. Well, that was like not a great way of doing that. You know, I think for the debugging, I need to just go like right into the game. Wait, what just happened? It felt like it went... How did I wind up over there? Oh, the character died as it hit the... Yeah, okay, so the collision needs to be disabled then and there, because the actor is still... Enemy collision. Alright, so we disable the collision, the enemy is set to the death state, the player bounces, we wait for 5 seconds, and then we deactivate the enemy. Likewise, what I could do also is instead of disabling the collision, I could just add a condition here to test whether the enemy is dead or not, but it doesn't matter. Right, because when this kills the player, it sets the player back to its start position. Wait, how does this happen? If it sets the player back to its start X, I want to see what happens when we, let me disable this in this effect. Well, now it doesn't do anything. Did I do something wrong here? Is alive, enemy self, enemy collision. We get the value of the enemy alive. The player is above enemy. Alive, enemy, disabled, collision, enemy. Do I need this enabled in order for the other part to work? That doesn't make any sense. That's weird. Why? What is this condition? If player is above enemy, if not, set the... Oh, I see. There is the Y. 0, right. Okay, so we set it back to the start X and the start Y if they die. But why would disabling this disable all of the collision for the enemy? Oh, okay, I see. You can walk through the enemy. You can't. You can still collide with it. That was the difference. Okay, so we're going to enable this event. So basically, this all works fine. What we're going to do is I wanted to do player start X. Let's rename this now to G player start tile X. Actually, I'm just going to leave it like this. We don't need long variables, and we know that the start tile X is going to be for the player, so we can just keep it simple. All right, so that's the collision. And then we want to enable this event, and I just add like a little bit of a shake so that when the character dies, they then go back to wherever it was that they were. They just go back to the start thing, and then the screen shakes a little. I guess while I'm in here, I might as well just try to do the, see if I can drop the tombstone. All right. What I actually want to do is when this is over, I want to set it to go back to the same level so that we can just do this for debugging right now. Can exit, true, true, true. Replace the tile. Maybe it's a collider on this. Yeah, go to 1A. Okay. I think what'll happen now is that when we die, or when we kill the bad guy, we'll just go straight into the we'll go right back to this level so I can continue to test. Although it doesn't give me a random position. But that's fine. For this testing, I don't really care all that much. I was trying to see what I did for this player. I'm also thinking in my head, is there a way that we can it starts here. What if we just made this the set as the starting scene? I just want to speed this up as I'm testing, because the compiling is a little annoying. There we go. It went right, jumped right on top of that guy. All right, so what I want to do is when I want to test that we die and he goes back to his start position. And the screen shake is, I was kind of curious if things actually like, yeah, the screen shake doesn't actually affect the performance or anything. I like how it builds up though. In the original game, when you keep falling like this, the screen, as you go faster and faster and faster, the screen's supposed to shake more. But there doesn't seem to be a way to do that. But all right, while we're focused on the enemy collision, what we're gonna do, we have the camera shake. I want to see if we can just create real quick the ghost. And then the ghost, once the ghost goes to the top, then it'll respawn. And then we'll get back into the movement stuff. There's also large star, Reaper Boy, sprites, checkbox, cloud, small, collision. That's for testing. Jumper enemy. Huh. Wonder why his eyes aren't showing. I guess I think I must have too many colors there or something. Let me fix that. Well, whatever. I'm like all over the place today. There's just so many things I need to do, and I just want to get enemy jumper. Why are there two enemy jumpers? One's underscore and one's. Let me delete this one. We don't need this. Delete. Large star, Reaper Boy. All right, so what I want to do is I need to pull out some tiles from here. So let me, nope, wrong one. Let me open up our assets, sprites. Where's our sprites? We need this guy right here. So let's do grid settings. 8, 8. Oh, I'm like remembering a whole bunch of things. I think when you, let me go back to the actual game. I'm hoping this doesn't play sound. No. Okay, good. So we'll just keep this running in the background and we can test out what I did before. So one of the things that happens, and this is what I haven't even gotten around to implementing, is that when you start the game, it shows you stars in the top left corner for how many enemies there are. This was the shaking effect that I was talking about. And if you do it for too long, you die, as was clearly illustrated there. What I was trying to see was that if you jump on, yeah, a little star comes out. Okay, when you kill the guy, a little star comes out. That's what I wanted to do. So let's start with that. All right, so we're going to take this. I need to snap to grid. Whoops, we'll copy this. We'll create a new file, we'll paste this in. And then I gotta remember, I'm coloring this a little bit different. Here's my Reaper voice so I can remember the colors. That doesn't make any sense. How is this and this the same? Where is my guy, Reaper Boy? Huh, that's interesting that that works. I want to fix these sprites so that they're all the same color. I want to do not continuous. I want to do all these are the same. All these are the same. Let me save this sprite. And also, I don't know why. I don't know why I make these sprites so big, or why I made them so big. I think maybe I was doing, I'm trying to remember why I was using the Game Boy's 2 sprite mode. Maybe this was like a byproduct of when, like, it's just pointless for, like, I'm wasting so much memory by making these 2x2. All right, now I got to remember, how do I change the setting for the sprite so that the sprites are I think it's got to be in the settings somewhere. Game. UI elements, music platformer. Sure, those were the physics. Shoot 'em up, top down, fade options, controls, cartridge type, build options, custom header, color options. Default player sprites. Yeah, there's something I'm missing here. Either maybe it just defaults now to this. Like, there's 2 modes on the Game Boy, and it was also a carryover from the Nintendo where the sprites. Oh, cool! I didn't realize that my bottom footer thing has been gone this whole time. Ugh. Why did everything screw up so badly? Whoa. I don't know what my computer is doing. I'm assuming it's not even recording this now. This is crazy because whenever I go to... whatever, I'm like so annoyed right now. Whenever I try to go to the share drive, it like shows me a completely different drive on my Mac. I don't know what is going on with my server today. Ugh. All right, whatever. I'm just a floating box. Actually, let me take a quick break, and I'll be right back in 1 second. I just want to switch to the. I just want to switch to my desk or sitting. I'll be right back. Okay. Since that's not even working, let me just go to the full screen. I don't know if that makes things better. Hell if I know. What I am annoyed about, though, is that this should be recording so that I have a clean copy of what's going on, and that I'm assuming is just not working because the video is not right. All right, let's just go back to this and all right, let me see. I want to look to see if there's a way to GB Studio Sprite size mode. Sprites are typically designed as 8x16 tiles using the standard Gameboy size. While the engine supports other sizes 8x8, the IDE is designed to use 8x16 for simplicity. You can create sprites of various sizes and configure within the editor, but they will ultimately be rendered as 8x16 tiles. Huh, alright, I guess that's why I was using that. Then it must just fill this in on its own. Alright, I want to clean this up. Since we're doing this, might as well just do it right. I want to just rebuild this real quick and see if it updates the cache. All right, I just need to, he's now standing in the ceiling, or he's standing a tile above. I actually want to make him 8x8. Oh, it won't let me. This must be, I have a feeling this is just not updating visually. Let me go back into the sprites and see if I get, this hasn't updated. All right, it pulls up here correctly. Let me see if this idle animation has been fixed. No, I broke everything. Cool. I'm going to save this and reload assets. There we go. I don't know if it's any better this way. I don't really know why it does it this way. Actually, it's kind of weird because these sprites are, oh, I see, they're bottom aligned. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the best way to do this is. So I'm just going to go with this way and call it a day. And I rather have less than more, if that makes any sense. Let me get rid of this guy. Let's see if this now fixes. Yeah. Ah, I remember now why I did it the other way. I remember. Because what winds up happening, and that's actually what was going on with the other guy, is that when you flip, see how it's hard to explain, but he's basically flipping along the center point, and I never set up the that like bot thing. Oh well. When he moves back and forth, he's flipping. Yeah, it's flipping. It's flipping off of the fact that the top left corner is 0, 0. So I got to go back and redo all that because I screwed all that up. That was stupid of me. But that's fine. We can do the width as 16. Leave the height. I don't know. It didn't want me to do. It didn't like the idea of 8. And then I think I had this offset by 4. And then we'll just move him in the middle. $5 says that was the other problem I'm seeing with the other guy too. With the monster when he was flipping. Or the enemy. All right. And then move right. I'm just trying to make sure that these line up correctly. The right jump goes here. And we have the box in the right place and then climbing. All right, well, that is a good thing to remember, is that if you want to have a sprite that can flip and is centered, that we need to actually make sure that it is in the center of its sprite. So let me go back to the enemy walker. This is going to cause some issues that we're going to have to come back down later and fix. But let's make him 16. And we're going to move him into the center along with his collision of 4. See, this is what happens when you don't remember what the hell you were doing for a couple of years and come back into a project you haven't worked on in a couple of years. So that's right, up, down. We don't have any of those right. I think that lines up. Yeah. All right, he should be in there. Okay, cool. So now if I rerun this, the player should look correct. Oh, cool, he's mirrored. I think I'm just going to go back to... I think I'm just going to go back to this thing having this top part and call it a day. Now I remember why I needed all this. So, all right, that was a good learning lesson. Let me edit this guy too and make sure that... I wonder why it works for some of them and not others, but let's just go to canvas. We'll put this bottom aligned and we'll make this 16. And then we'll fill this and save. So I'm going to have to redo both of those sprites now. So let's close out this. And we have this guy, so we should be good to go here. And then I think there was a reload assets. There we go. Oops. I think I'm just going to delete all this and then start over again. Fixed direction. If it didn't already delete all that. And we're going to make this, I think it was fixed direction moving. No. There's one in here where 4 directions, flip right, or 4 directions plus movement. wonder if we can keep... this was confusing me the other day. I didn't know what did I have before? All right, I had it idle right. Okay, fine. 4 directions. Let's just do it this way. Delete, delete, new one, delete. There's no up. There's no down. See, this is kind of annoying. This seems to be the only one we have 4 directions, and then you can use the flip for the right and the left facing. I would prefer to keep this. Oh, look at this. This is completely broken. I might have to reload this project now that I screwed up everything. All right. Let's do this. Save, and regretfully. And then we're going to switch projects, and we're going to go back to this project again. That should load up all the assets. Now if we go back to our sprites, why is this so bad? How did I like screw this up so badly? Why is this offset? There must be something that's there must be something in here that is, I guess, like the engine saved that made it like this. So let's do this. I'm going to edit this image. I'm going to save it as enemy walker 2. And I just want to see if this actually works. Yeah. Ugh, I had to rebuild this whole thing. This is annoying. All right, so we're going to make this offset by 4. We're going to make the hit area 8 by 8. And then we're going to, we had a walker palette. There we go. So the second frame will be this. Although what needs to happen is that I need to go back and switch this to fixed direction movement. Four directions, flip right, excuse me, move right. All right, now is that in the collision area? Fine. We want this to be the walker palette. And then we want this to be the walker palette, and he's centered. And then we're going to another set, which is going to be death. And death was going to be the same thing, where we're going to do we're going to do 4 directions right to move, and then for this, we're going to put him right here, and we'll use the walker death. All right, now go back here, and I don't know what is going to happen with this actor, but I think I just have to go back in and change it to enemy walker 2, and that should fix it. Although I don't see my player. Well, right, you don't ever see the player. I think I have to fix my player. The player is broken, I guess. All right, let's go back to sprites. We're going to delete this old one. We're going to rename this to to enemy walker. And for Reaper Boy, we just need to move him up. All right, well, that was a painful lesson I learned the hard way. But now this makes a lot more sense to me why I was doing things this way. It just sucks because, and I think this is part of my frustration of why I probably abandoned this project earlier on, is that I'm now eating up 4 tiles. Although I wonder, yeah, it's using, this number is unique tiles used by the sprite in total across all animations. It may just be because there's 4 here. Like if I delete this, no, it's still 4. Long story short is that this limits how many sprites I can have on the screen, and I have to figure out a more optimized way of doing this. Because I can't make this height 8 because it defaults back to 16. And I can't make it, so all right, I guess every one of these things that needs to pivot is always going to be in this sort of weird space. I also wanted to clean up these guys too, and I hope saving that didn't screw up anything. Oh, it just made a walker too. I see what that's fine. Delete that. We have our walkers, and then here I want to edit these guys. I'm actually just going to rename them. Actually, we'll come back to them later. We don't even use him. So back to what I was originally trying to do. Let me rerun this and make sure that the sprites are all working. That's weird. It shouldn't, when you come from above, I guess it was going too fast and it, that was a weird bug, but. All right, I'm just testing out the animation to see if I like what's going on here. What I want to do next is I want to get these stars. So let's do that. This is what I was looking at before and where I got completely distracted. So grid, settings, the width is going to be 8 and the height is going to be 16. And we need to make the canvas. We want to make the height 16. And then we'll just set this area to be this. And then what I was going to do is, I think these frames are all good. Let's save this as, I don't want to save it as a sprite. I want to save it as a PNG. Save as PNG, PNG, PNG. Enemy star. And now we should have an enemy star. And I just want to go through and delete this stuff. So this guy we're going to make 8. I was trying to think. I was looking to see if this actually changes things, but it actually doesn't seem to change anything. What I'm thinking about is that if I actually make the sprite the same width as the if I make the sprite the same width as the enemy, then all I need to do is, instead of doing any math to offset it, I can literally just spawn it right at the same X position as the enemy and then move it up, and it'll just be centered with the enemy. So that, I think, is the approach we're going to go for here. What I need to figure out, though, is if I need to offset this a little bit more, which I may have to do. How do I play this back? Here we go. Yeah, it worked out pretty good. All right, the other thing I want to do is that now that we have that in, I wanted to go to palettes and go to, this is Reaper Boy, this is platform. This palette is going to be gold, right? We have the light and the dark. So let's change, oh wait, we want the lightest to be the brightest gold. And we'll make the darkest I don't know if I want a black around it, but we can try this. And then if we go back into the sprites and select our guy here, and we change this palette to, wait, I should have given it a name. Did I not give it a name? Star. So this way, all the stars will have the same, they'll use the same palette, which will come in, which will be important a little bit. Palettes, let's go to sprites. So here I want to give the palette, oh, was that a background? All right, I'm gonna need a background and a foreground. No, wait, why is star not showing up? Default BG, default sprites, default UI, curtains bottom, curtains top, exit. This star should show up here. Default sprites. I'm so confused as to why that. Maybe there's something I'm missing here, where the palette needs to be added. There's something I'm missing. Oh, right, because I have to add the palette into here. Right, stars. I knew there was somewhere where I needed to add the palette. Star. Game world sprites. All right, that looks like a star. We're gonna make this gold. Gold. And gold. So one of the things I'm thinking of doing is that maybe I should, instead of having this thing handle moving up, I should just have the animation do that. So for example, we can start it here. Move it up one. Move it up there. Move it up there. And now you see how it just automatically moves up. This way I don't have to deal with any of that, like, because normally I guess in a game, what I would do is I would just like spawn it and then say, okay, you now handle moving straight up. But there's no way to do that on the Game Boy. It's just adding another entity that's going to take up resources running to move itself is just such a waste. So we can just do this way. So I want to see, we are, what are we, one above? We'll make this a star. This is a star. Now let's make this a star. All right, so we'll do this and then we'll bring it back around one, which would put it there. And I think what I'm going to do is can I copy this frame? Hey, look at that. I can copy that frame. I'm going to make it hang out for a second. So the animation is going to look like this. It actually should happen a lot faster. It should be here, 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 and then here. So what we can do is we can delay it a little bit here so that it starts to do here to here. We can delete all these other ones. All right, so we don't need that delay in the beginning. All right, it'll look like this. Maybe what we can do is we can play into, whoops, I don't want that. We can play into it turning smaller and then it just disappears. This way it's not so jarring. So yeah, let's do this. We'll just delete this and this will just be the animation. So you'll just see it just long enough, because we could, like, normally I would like maybe do some easing or something like that, and like the only way you could do it here would be to like add extra frames. So something like this, which would slow it down a bit, but I don't like. I think we can just do it fast, and we'll always come back. We can come back to this later on to see. All right. Now the real thing is, can we actually place this down. So in the game world, we're going to create a... I'm trying to remember how to even create an actor. I think it's just, yeah, here. Add an actor. And then we're going to make this the star. Oh, you know what we can do? Honestly, actually, that's what we can do. Let's... All right, we'll take a look at this a second. What I was just thinking about, what we could do is we can make the star... we could make the star have zero, like an empty frame to start with, and then we just move it, play it, and then wherever it stays, it's just on the screen, and you just won't see it after that. I just want to see how it animates and what it does. So that's basically what we're going for here. So when we stomp on this guy, it's going to move this star. And now I'm going to put the star off screen. And what we can do is, when we have an enemy collision, we are going to want to player bounce. We are going to insert an event before actor. We're going to set actor position. We're going to make this actor B. And we want to set the actor position to the we're gonna have to get some variables for it to be its current position. And well, you know what, honestly, I think we could probably just set it to next X. Let's just set it to, oh no, we can actually set it to its own, we can set it to the enemy's X. There we go. And the enemy's Y. I wish there was a way of, well, technically what would wind up happening is that I think the, oh, somebody was commenting on Google, the YouTube stream. Sorry about that, if you're still in there. I didn't see it because it didn't come up on my chat window on this computer. Creating a system like this is a side effect of memorizing every power of 2. Yeah, and it could be worse. Could be old code commented with. I guess this is an older comment, so sorry. I'm still working out the kinks in this setup. So we're going to set this to tile Y. I wish there was a way that we could set this above, but now what we need to do is we need to pass in on hit. Actor B is going to be the, well, we need to give this a name. So we're going to call this star, or enemy. We'll call this A enemy star, which is for the actor. And then when we get to this, we are going to set in this. I also want to change this guy's name. A enemy 1. All right, so on collision, we are going to give it a reference to itself and this A enemy star. You know, the more that I think about it, the more that I feel like it would be better to actually just put the star animation as part of the I'm just trying to see if I can fix my YouTube chat. ODI. There we go. All right. Oh, good. You're still in the chat. All right. Used to it on the dual streams. Yeah. It's not even the matter of that. It's just, I don't know. Today, like, everything decided that it was not going to work. So the more I think about it, what I really think I need to do is I think I need to add the star animation to when you kill the enemy. Normally, I wouldn't do that, but I think because we're so limited in actors and I'm trying to get the performance down or make the performance as good as possible, I think that's really the only way to do it. I would love to reuse this star. It just, normally I have like this allergy to hard coding things. Because what I think I need to do is I would need to put this, oops, I need to put this in this guy, enemy walker. Oops, I don't mean to open, I mean to. Is that right? Can I not share? I guess when you're looking, I guess when you're doing the sprite stuff, you can't, they all have to be in the same thing. Yeah, it stinks. You can't really pull in other sprites, so it all has to be baked in. So the real question is, do we deal with the animation? Let's just see how that actually works. I mean, it actually works pretty well. What I have to do is get the animation to stop. Enemy star. Is there like a looping thing or something in here that I'm missing? Show grid, unique, idle. Platform cursor. I wasn't sure if there's a place where it idles out, or where it fixed direction, idle. Let me go back onto the enemy now and see if that, or this actor. Animation speed, motion speed. Yeah, this is the problem, is that we don't really have a way of telling the animation to stop playing. And what I could do is that I could add a script to it, but I want to avoid that extra overhead. All right, let's just try modifying this guy here, and the width is going to be 8 by 16. We're going to canvas sprite size, canvas size. Let me just make this 100, then I'll do the math back down. Yeah, so this is the challenge, right? Is that I have to now duplicate these sprites, and all the enemies are going to have these sprites. Sorry, in my experience with the game maker tools like this, the entity needs a process where the animation is made to stop it. Yeah, so that's so the comment was that it needs to basically, like, usually you have some sort of script that runs, and the issue here is that any other overhead that we add to the game slows the Game Boy down. So I don't think I'm losing. I don't think I'm adding a lot of overhead by just. Let me trim this. By just duplicating these sprites. I actually want to see if it's smart enough to know. Let me see if I can just make this all the same. I'm kind of curious to see now if this tool will see that they're duplicate sprites and try to save that. But honestly, it doesn't even matter, because if I'm looking here, I have so many sprites left. Like I can have at least so I only have 19 out of 96. So here we're going to delete this guy. We're going to come back in here. Actually, let's go to the enemy collision. We're going to remove this. Oh, you know what we could have done? We could have just said that after we disable the enemy, you know what? That's actually a better way of doing it. We already have this here. So what we could do is at this point, after set breakpoint disable, insert event after. We can then deactivate this. We're going to call this this is going to be a enemy star. So what we're going to do is we deactivate it. Here what we can do is insert after event activate actor a enemy star. So what we could do now is when we kill the enemy, did I delete him from here? Actor. We're going to pass in. Oh, let me rename this. A enemy star. And then what we're going to do is on the collision, we're going to need to pass in this a enemy star. And actually, now that I see what I was doing here, let me go to enemy collision, and we're just going to call this guy enemy and star. So now good. All right. So that, so what we could do is we can add a delay now to this. I think my only issue is that this star is, let's just do on init. I'm just going to disable this. We'll deactivate this actor. So when we start, let me just double check this real quick to see that this actually works. Yeah, that actually worked really well, because what was happening was that before we need to reset the frame rate. What was happening is that it was actually spinning off frame and you couldn't see it, or off screen. And when we moved it, it just picked up from wherever the last frame was. So now what I want to do is, let me go back into this enemy collision. We're going to add an event after actor. We want to set actor animation frame for star back to 0. So just to test this out, let's add another enemy here and another enemy here. And now the star went, and whoops, this guy is going to be hard because he's in a really, I have to jump here. This was a level I created for testing. All right, that guy needs to move. I can do it. Hey, okay, all right, that's what we need to do. We just go down here. Okay. So what I'm thinking we need to do is we just need to I'm going to try delaying this real quick. Let's set the duration for 1 second. So, or actually what we could do is we could do 2 delays. I don't know what this is. I think this is, I can't tell what adding, I can't tell what happens when you add more delays and stuff, if that actually slows things down. Yeah, I think what I want to do is this. We'll have that delay for a second, and I want to go in and clean up these animations. So in the sprites, I think we can just stop here. I don't even think we get this far. I wish it gave me in seconds. The enemy walker, when the enemy dies, we will do 2 frames, and then we'll just leave it as empty frames. And we'll save this. Because now what's going to happen is we're going to kill him, he's going to disappear, and the star is going to go away. All right, so we can get rid of this, and I think we can get rid of some of these. I want to actually time this out and see how many frames we really need. And I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to undo this because we don't need this. The only thing I do want to do is make this like this, so that at least we know what color is what. I think that's how I'm supposed to. I mean, that's how I do it, but let's see. Let's reload the assets. Yeah, I think that star takes a little too long to... Wait, I wasn't... I was like paying attention to the star, but I guess this guy doesn't come back when he idles. Yeah, the... Alright, we need to just increase this a little bit longer. Or, in the star, collision, enemy, small, where's the enemy star? 3, 4, 5. Move that up 2. Move that up 2. Move that up 2. 2. And then we leave that there. All right, and then it just disappears. It's funny, what I'm actually thinking of doing is reversing this, which I didn't do before, but I'm actually thinking it should end on this frame. Let me try that. What I wanted to do is I wanted to go from almost nothing to the star, and then it just disappears. So let me try this a different way. I think it should go backwards from here. Yeah, I don't like this. We'll just deal with this another time. This is actually working, and I need to move on to other stuff. Yeah, okay, I am wrong. I need this guy to, I need the longest part of the animation to be the star. So what I need to figure out is, we have this. Move this around real quick. We're going to start off with this, this, and then that would go back to, I don't think it plays this long. This one needs to move over. And this needs to just, I wanted to have a little bit of a delay so that you see that it's actually a star instead of just this like blurry thing. But the real question is, how many frames do we need for this to work? And I think we could be fine here. Okay, so now let's go back to our game world. Let's go to our enemy collision. Let's set the delay to 1.5. Yeah, that's terrible. It's also not animated, so we're not getting the full effect, but sprites, so... This is why do I even have I don't even need this frame. It's literally just the same thing flipped over. So we have this, this, this. So wait, what it should be is this like optimization stuff will pay off later on. Right now it's just annoying. But when the goal is to get as much, I actually want to get a lot more of the sequel to this game up and running into this, and the only way I'm going to do that is by having as much room for graphics as I possibly can. So we have to be very creative. Sprite, crop. We'll save this. Let's go back here and let's reload our assets. All right. So now, I don't know what this song is. It's annoying. Here we are going to flip this. Delete this, delete this. Okay, so we go from... All right, so I'm going to do one more here. We don't need this. And that will be our animation. It's going to be hard to see because it's going to be like right on top of the enemy. But let me see if I can kill this guy and move out of the way. Yeah, there we go. Okay, perfect. So now it goes from nothing to a little bit of a star, and then it goes back. And then all we need to do now is start this here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It should just be at the top. All right, now let's rerun this and see what's going on. The only problem with this is that, ooh, that's funny. It went back a frame. I think that went for too long, but that's fine. Let's try this again. The only issue now is that I can't make the star above the player. Yeah, it's looping back around again. What I want to do is let's see if we can just make this shorter, game world. Instead of me making the frames longer, what I really need to do is I need this flip to happen quick, because if you're going from like one enemy to another enemy to another enemy, I'm moving this star and I want to make sure that it doesn't just like jump and jitter around. Enemy collision. Oh yeah, but I have plenty of time. I made this 1.5 seconds. Make that 1 second. This should be a lot better. Perfect. Gives you that star, and then you don't even see it go to the end. But we'll leave those extra frames in there just in case for some reason there's a bit of a delay. And then I want to take these guys. And I want to... on this level, I want to paste them in. So every bad guy is supposed to give you at least show you a star. I actually wonder if, you know what, these should just be background tiles. Yeah, okay, let's remove this. I'll come back to that later. Basically what I want is to have the stars as part of the background, and then and then every time an enemy starts, it should show you the star. And then, or how do I have it? Let me see what the game. For some reason it won't give me, it won't do anything. Let me just restart the game. Maybe it locked up. Oh, interesting. I was hitting the wrong key. That was why. I can hear my stomach rumbling. I think it might be time for a lunch break soon. Right. Okay. There's an empty star, and then when you kill this guy, whoops, I want to add that in next. And then it turns that into the star. I think the only thing it doesn't do, although I think in this game, I think in the Game Boy, when we shake the screen, everything shakes. I had like this other layer, and I could probably do like a HUD layer, I think. Yeah, everything shakes. I think that's part of the game. So what I could do in the background, I want to mock this up real quick, is that I want to see what happens when you just place these stars down. Let me, oops, come on, give me back to ASAP, right? Don't I have the sprites open here somewhere? Yeah, here we go. Right, these are the two sprites that I need. I think. No, it's this background. There's this and this. Okay. It's these two sprites. I'll just copy this all. Yeah, I think I have an idea of how I want to do this. In fact, let me just do it this way. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to paste this in. I think I do have to go have some lunch. My stomach's not happy. It's very hungry. Let me see what I can do about lunch earlier. All right. Let me do this grid. We will select the selection as grid. Grid settings 8 by 16 and show the grid. Selection as grid, snap to grid. All right, so the two that we need are going to be this and this. So let's just move this guy up. And then we can trim this. Sprite crop actually is what we're looking for. And now I'm going to save this, but I'm going to save this instead of assets. I'm going to save this into tile sets. And we're going to call this PNG scoring. What is it called? Score star. And then the idea behind this, what I'm thinking is that I will create some logic that will as the enemy initializes, it will see what the current enemy position is, and then it will add a value onto that. So let's do this. I want to set a variable. Let's see, insert event before. So we want to make this a regular variable. A global variable, I guess. I have to really go through and clean up all these variables, but right now we'll just do it like this. I think a lot of this can be deleted, and I'll just consolidate it later on. The variable we want to call is going to be this is global UI global score star X. And we want to set this now to right about here, which should be 4. And the reason I'm doing this is that now every time something initializes, every time an enemy initializes, we're going to paint those stars down. So I want to go and figure out where is, I have some code in here. Yeah, this stuff. Can exit. Let's copy this event. And now on the enemy init, we are going to, for the enemy init, we have these variables. We're going to increase the enemy counter. We're going to set the enemy alive. If the enemy is facing left, we're going to change the speed. I'm going to delete this because we don't need it anymore. Delete this. And then the last thing we're going to do is insert. Oh, of course I can't paste now. Group. I wonder if it just hates copying, pasting between scripts. All right, so we're just going to do replace tile at, and then, all right, so actually, this might work out. I think okay, I'm going to just mock this up real quick, and then we'll go from there. But basically, we're going to start, we need to start at an offset, which would be off screen, and then we'll move it over. But we're going to start here at, we were at 4.4. So now, all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do replace tile at. I'm going to move to enemy init. We're going to replace tile at position. And we're going to start with the X, and we're going to do this variable is going to be G star tile X. The Y is going to be 4. We're going to replace it with score tile. And we actually, let me reverse this because it'll be easier this way. Wrong key. All right, so we're just going to move this guy over here, and then we're going to paste this here. I don't know if you can hear my stomach growling, but I'm about to take a break. I'll stop. I'll do some lunch, and then I'll come back, and maybe in the interim I can fix all the other stuff that's breaking on my computer for the day. Let's see here. So now what's going to happen is that we're going to start with 0 here, and then we're going to, let's see if this actually, my theory works. We're going to copy this event, and then, yeah, paste the value here. Whoops. Paste event. Wait, we're going to copy event. and then we're going to paste the event after. And what we're going to need to do is move this to 5. So I'm going to rename this top left, rename bottom left. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is that now we need to add an event, insert an event after. We're going to set the variable to a value, or actually we want to do math. Math evaluate expression, math function. And what we're going to do is take the variable called star score. I also noticed that I had this wrong. Star star. We're going to now add value of 1 to this, which will move it over another tile. And then we're going to copy this event, paste the values after. Whoops. Copy event, paste the event after. And then here we're going to move this now, same thing. We're just going to increase this value. And then we're going to do the same thing for the, let's rename this top right. Let's copy this, we'll paste this event after. We're going to call this bottom right. And then we are going to leave this here, leave this here. We just need to increment this. All right. So now what's going to happen is that every time an enemy inits, it's going to create a star. As you can see, it just did whatever the hell it wanted to do. That was a lot. I don't know why it did so many. And why it... Let me disable this. Actually, no, let's get rid of these other enemies real quick. We don't need them. I just want to see what's causing that thing to loop like that. All right, that didn't do anything. Interesting. All right, I will take a break. Oh, here we go. It shouldn't do that. All right, I will take a break. I'll be back after lunch, and then we will sort out the rest of this stuff. The whole game. We're just going to fix the whole game by then. So, all right. Oh, cool. All that, nothing is working. Let's do today at 12:30 p.m.